We are going directly into game number 3, Artosis versus Sheth, another epic series. Artosis, the professional caster and professional StarCraft player, going to be pitted against Sheth, the North American powerhouse Zerg player. We're going to see an excellent match going down PvZ on Terminus Re.
Yeah, I actually recently read an article in some trendy, sexy magazine about how people who commentate and play the game professionally are better human beings than the rest.
I think I read that too.
I've
it was
done
on
a summary.
I Know It's a Fact, that magazine, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's actually one of the truths passed down biblically, scientifically, and
Duh.
I said it. Power kids, so winning.
You are a power kid, sir.
In the top middle portion of this map, which is Terminus Re, match number 1. I said match. That could be a new word. We do have FXO Sheth spawning as the purple Zerg. And in the middle left area is the blue Protoss. We do have 6 Jacks Artosis. Now, a lot of you are saying, blue Protoss? Didn't he play Terran in Brood War? Yes, he did. Didn't he play Zerg in StarCraft 2? Yes, he did. Does he play Protoss in StarCraft 2? Yes, he does. And Artosis actually, like a leaf that follows the greatest winds, will actually only follow what he considers the most overpowered race. But the interesting thing about Artosis is that after he picks that race, he'll actually take on the wounded perspective and say that it's the worst race, which I don't mind, because I play Protoss.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure completely. Artosis definitely is, I think, the seasoned veteran, and I would say that if he's matched up with anybody.
It's like a really nice way of saying he's old, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a little old. He's a little old.
Yeah, he's pretty old. I think it's actually.
But do you know what? I think out of any other gamer, he's seen and experienced the most games out of any other person.
Right. Again, I think that's just a really polite way of saying he's really old. Artosis, actually, if you were to cut him open and count the rings on his inside of his body, you would notice that he is aged with the red tree, which makes him an important artifact for this Earth, and important to StarCraft 2. Now, a little bit more to the game, we do have a spawning pool and gas going down first for the Zerg player, and I find that to be an interesting choice. Usually this is the map where a lot of players are going to go for that hatch first kind of opening, or even Nexus first kind of opening, because it's such a big macro map. So we're going to return to that Game 1 kind of mindset that we've been talking about in each of these series, and that is that this is the big map. This is the big super macro map. This is where you can kind of take advantage of that. But Sheth's going to play it super safe. We do have metabolic boost upgrade going down, and actually already kind of a proxy pylon, if you will, for the Protoss player. I don't feel like this is necessarily for cheese, because if it was, I think there would be a probe around there. I think this is more of a just kind of being cute. It does act as a spotter for later in the game, but normally you don't make your second or third pylon that fast off the map. Well, not off the map, but out of your base, I guess.
Indeed. And we can see just very standard play coming out from both these players. Again, Artosis is just getting the cybernetics core, going to be walling off with this one zealot. Now going to be choosing, I mean, as soon as his cyber core shows up, going to be choosing what he's going to be getting, either the sentry or the individual stalker. And really nice micro coming out from Sheth, not losing a single Zergling.
What have he done?
Really, really nice play, and just getting the shields down on the zealot. 4 damage on internal structure, actually.
Yeah, it's like a band-aid, maybe a brace for his wrist or something like that. He'll be fine though. He should make it. Protoss shields do regenerate, as do Zergling's health. So actually, no harm, no foul there for the most part. Now, Sheth is just kind of settling into kind of more of a scouting position. We do have that Overlord kind of paving its way both in the left side of the map and also in the lower portion of the map. Oh, it would be kind of funny if the squad that power, but it does not. And the Lings are in position to go ahead and just kind of surround the base of that ramp. Now, this is a key part of the game, and I'm going to go into why here. This could be a 3-gate expand or some cheese, and actually Artosis, a cut from the cheddar himself, is going to go with the 4-gate double gas kind of build. Okay. I think that this has some pretty good strength to it. I would like it if this pylon outside his base was a little bit closer to the Zerg player, and I think he would too. In fact, he would probably agree with me on that. But more often than not, there's pressure that comes from this, not necessarily an expansion. Of course, as I say that, the Protoss player is banking a lot of money.
Yeah, he is on 4 warp, going to be on 4 warp gates momentarily, so he is, as you said, cutting the cheese. He's cutting it a little bit, going to get some wine with that. And now we can see Zergling's just trying to poke in.
Well, it is Artosis, of course.
Of course. course.
There will be wine.
Ooh, and the Nexus actually dropping down. So you're going to be doing a 4-gate expand.
It could be, okay, I've heard of this, though. It could be the Nexus cancel build. I don't know.
Oh.
The 4th gate seems a little bit fishy to me, so the Zerg player sees the Nexus. Now, what the 4-gate the cancel build is essentially that, okay, you make it known that you are indeed expanding, but here's the thing. Sheth actually sacking an Obi there and seeing that odd 4th gate.
Yeah.
It comes at a weird time for him, though. He could be looking at that and saying, because Protoss wants a 4th gate in a Forge when they expand. But, I'm like trying to search my brain for what's going on here. Artosis is going to push out here just a little bit. If he was doing the Nexus cancel, I feel like he would actually be hiding a lot of the units he's warping in behind this. He'd just want to show the sentries. But he is, in fact, not doing that just yet. So this could just be a normal expansion build.
Indeed. And we can see Sheth behind that. He's going to react, says, okay, you're going to go ahead and defend a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and get a 3rd hatchery. And actually, Artosis might look like you want to push out all the way, but no, he's just going to come back, as there are a couple of Zerglings going to be able to get into position here. Going to be able to take 1 probe, but is going to have to back up quite a bit, as there still isn't a probe transfer, however, for Artosis. So Artosis just now transferring all of his probes, and Sheth looking really nice. We can see on the income tab 42 Harvesters coming out of him against Artosis' 31, and not only that, do keep in mind that Sheth is going to be an extra base up, so with that extra base, he's going to be able to have a much stronger economy.
Yeah, but the untold story there is that's pretty standard. I mean, the Zerg has to be up a base against the Protoss in order to be kind of almost on equal footing. I mean, their units are going to be more inexpensive, they're going to have more of them, but the quality of those units is far and away in favor of the Protoss players. So having a base up on the Protoss is standard for the Zerg. And the Protoss will not necessarily freak out about that. So Artosis actually shaping up pretty nicely here. A lot of people look at this and say, man, Sheth's lost a lot of Lings, but what he has done is really found out what the Protoss player is doing. With Sack Obi, the Ling activity, it allows him to say, okay, here's what I can expect from the Protoss player. And so far, it's pretty straight up and standard. And that's important, because Artosis is a bit of a wild card for us foreigners. We do not know how he plays. He is in Korea. He does practice in Korea. We do not see him in a lot of our tournaments, and by a lot, I mean any at all. He has only played in the GSLs as of late. So I like what Sheth's doing, just kind of figuring out his opponent and finding out what he can expect from him.
Indeed, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, you say just GSL, but that is a pretty big tournament.
He's only the GSL.
But you know, Artosis is no slum to himself, and he understands this game so well. Again, his theory is so phenomenal, and he's actually up all the way on 4 gases, but still staying on this gateway tech, actually relying on all of his gateway units to be able to defend him against this. Well, he is going a 3 base Protoss, so he's going to be doing this really, really enclosed type style, and just banking on being able to get up his economy as fast as possible.
And here we go with Sheth once again, getting that valuable information, poking up at that 3rd, seeing, okay, you are indeed halfway done with your 3rd Nexus, and that is alarming for the Zerg. Excuse me. Usually, when that kind of thing has come into play, you need to take a 4th or you need to attack.
And you know what? That was his trigger. We can see a drone moving over into position in the 9 o'clock position. Does look like he's going to be throwing down a hatchery momentarily. Yes, his hatchery does go down in the natural of the 3 o'clock. Excuse me, the 3 o'clock.
Zerg is upgrading drop, and that's a really important upgrade to take note on this map. Drop is super strong because the natural and the 3rd is so, for the most part, extended and far away from the main, and because they're sharing airspace.
Yeah.
It's really good for the Zerg player to be active with those drops and forcing the Protoss to be in more places than they want to be. The Protoss is the kind of unit that, or the race rather, that wants to get a ball of units and keep all the action around that ball.
Yes.
The Zerg is the race that wants you to be all over the place and dealing with as much stuff as you possibly can, because their speed, mobility, and raw production will take advantage of that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Sheth puts that into play. I mean, we do have tunneling claws employed. Drop is about to finish. I feel like everything about his play is aiming towards that kind of spread them out offensive play.
Indeed, and we can see that Artosis is actually just getting more gateways. Twilight Council going up right now, and he's going to be up to 8 gateways. And look at this, Sheth is going to be able to come here with an amazing Overseer. The Overseers are pretty fast.
See
They're
everything.
going to be able to see absolutely everything and also get a Contaminate in there as well. Going to be like LOL Warp Gate. Nice try, yo.
Yep, a momentary delay on that. It's been all muddied up. I liked the expanding of Artosis, but I'm not a huge fan of his indecisive tech. I mean, we just now are having our first Colossus about halfway done, and we're almost at the 14-minute mark, so quite a bit late on that. And I think it's going to come out not a moment too... well, okay, I'm not going to try to say that saying. I'm just going to butcher it worse. But we do have 3 Overlords loaded up with Roaches, making its way on the left side of the map. Meanwhile, Banelings are going to be loaded up into these other Overlords for kind of what I would only presume to be a massive frontal assault. But here we go. Sheth's going to launch into offensive. And actually, there's 2 Stalkers patrolling there and 2 cannons.
Wow.
So a pretty good response from Artosis. The first Overlord could get targeted down, and it does, but I think it unloads all of its units. In fact, it does not get targeted down. It's just kind of the auto-fire. And the Roaches are being met by a lot of Stalkers. No blink, though. So not able to kill those Overlords. Meanwhile, another drop going down at the 3rd base. Sheth, again, being everywhere at once, but actually Artosis handling this really well. Yeah,
Artosis just going to be able to clean up both of these drops, taking very minimal damage against both of those different harasses.
That's like a cannon.
Really nice play. And again, it's just because Artosis has been playing so defensive this entire time. There's
really good response
really
from Artosis
no way for him to be able to pressure up. And now we can see another drop going on the main. Sheth doing a fantastic job. This is exactly what he needs to do, though. He can't let Artosis get a huge...
Come on, Artosis. Nope.
Ooh, it does not go down, but he can't let Artosis get a huge ball and be uncontested with it. He needs to disrupt the economy of Artosis. He needs to make sure that he's on his toes. Make sure, hey, if you want to push out, you need static defense, and you need to be able to combat
Sheth likes drones, Greetorp.
You might like him.
He has nearly 100. He has 96 of them.
Why not?
Half of his supply is represented in the worker force, so ever the proletariat. We do have, and that's such a good word, by the way. There's so many people that like me more just because I just said that word, and I like all of you back. Sheth going ahead with the mini drops yet again. Another set of Roaches being loaded up. Ooh, and that Overlord getting greedy, trying to drop again, but it only had 15 health, so it's actually dead. Both the Roaches are spurned from existence. And Artosis is taking his sweet, sweet time to max out, but it looks like he's kind of comfortably doing it. It's going to come down to the one big fight. He's going to max out. He's going to have that kind of super army. He's sitting on his 3 bases, and in order to take a 4th, he will have to do it by force.
Yeah.
Sheth will not grant him access to a 4th easy doing.
And Sheth actually loading up a lot of these Overlords with Banelings. He's going to be doing some Baneling drops over the main army of Artosis. I do believe that's going to be extremely effective and does have...
Another failed drop in the main. Scouting Roach.
Oh no, oh no. The huge battle goes on in the middle.
Force fields go down, yes. And here come those Banelings, filled Overlords. Nice blink back. Artosis actually handling this really well. Greetorp. Oh, okay. Well, I might have spoken a little bit too soon. No, okay. I mean, Greetorp. Excellent production for the Protoss players. Colossus are still standing in excellent health. All these Overlords could go down. Berserk players in the red. And he's almost equal in supply. Artosis, if you capitalize on this moment right now, you could actually probably win this game.
Takes out every single Overlord. That's exactly what he needs to do. Actually, it gives him a much larger timing to be able to capitalize, because now you have a round of Overlords and then a round of units. So again,
that's a really good choice by Sheth, actually. If Artosis would have attacked at that moment right there, I think he wins the game. But Sheth's taking a page out of Moon's book and is spreading him out by dropping and keeping him at home. And Artosis, please get off your horse. If you attack right now, you have a date with Destiny. You could beat Sheth in his first game. It looks like he's actually going to secure his 4th base. Now, Sheth is already remaxed.
Yeah.
That's why you make 100 drones, so that everything's like instantaneous. I need an army? Alright, no problem.
Got it. Got it.
Banelings being produced, a lot of Roaches, a lot of Infestors have touched down now. Artosis not a fan of attacking. He's just going to go ahead and expand and try to set this up. And he's still not maxed, which is kind of weird because he's got all these gateways and all this money.
Yeah. But you know what? Artosis doesn't necessarily need to. Again,
that's right.
He can just keep up with this. If we can go to the units lost tab, 9,550 units lost, or resources worth of units lost for Sheth. Only 5,900 for Artosis. So he's been playing extremely cost efficient. If he goes into later game, he's going to be looking really good as long as he can keep equal bases on his opponent.
Here we go. They're going forward, kind of taking an awkward position here. Colossus do get locked down by those fungal growths, and here come the Banelings. This time it could be too much. Soaking all the Protoss units in that green goo and weathering him down. Now Sheth could just lean on this poor Protoss player and have his way with him, but a couple of good blinks there, forcing those Infestors to turn tail and run. And once again, Artosis holds again. Another big fungal growth does go down, and these Stalkers are getting weathered away. But the 4th base has completed, and Artosis still sitting on roughly 1,500 minerals, and now going to start bringing in some pretty good gas. If he keeps his production up, he could actually hold this.
Yeah, indeed, but we can see our Zerg player is just about max again, 182 supply, and rising extremely fast. Going to be doing just waves and waves of this Roach Baneling drop Infestor play, and this is turning out to be extremely strong. Really, he gets the Banelings in, and they just do so much damage. He locks all the units down with those fungal growths, and then does the real damage with the Banelings, and actually has crept up in that last battle, was able to be super cost efficient, and we can see units lost have 15,000 to 12,000. So a little bit of a, not a huge disparity anymore.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Sheth is expanding in tow with the Protoss player, taking that right side of the map exceptionally well, locking him down behind Spine Crawlers and Spore Colonies, so even DT shenanigans are going to have a tough time being effective over there. Artosis just wants to clear the rocks over here, but it looks like even that won't be allowed to be done in peace. Infestor Roach moving forward with Overlords in tow, loaded up to the brim with Banelings, and these poor Colossus have stepped out into the light of day at the wrong time. Big fungal growths going down, and here come those Overlords, dropping Banelings on those Stalkers, and Artosis is not active.
Oh my gosh, so many Banelings!
You just quoted Artosis while he got Banelings.
I did. See what I did there?
And again, a lot of cannons trying to hold this off. Artosis with some nice blinks. But there are so many Infestors, and yep, there's a big fungal growth going down there now. Artosis. Again, the Zerg can trade these armies. He's sitting on 3 other healthy bases to total them up to 7, if you want to count the main as a base, even though that is dried up. And that is a lot of resources compared to the 4 of the Protoss. So when a Protoss is down a base or 2 to the Zerg, that's fine. For the most part, 2's getting a little bit pushy there. But 3 is, that's tough. The Zerg can just make stuff forever.
Indeed, I mean, he's constantly maxed, and what Artosis really needs to do is just settle down a little bit, get that sentry count up, so he can play a little bit more, defensive with that, but he needs a response to those Banelings, and a great response to them, to that drop, is going to be just to micro it and umbrella a little bit stronger, a little bit beforehand, so he can actually run away from the fungal growths.
The upgrades of the Zerg is going to be at 3-3 here pretty soon. Also, the Ultras upgrades are being made, so there. Ultras will have tremendous effect when in combination with those fungal growths, freezing that Protoss army in place. Now, a 5th base is being taken right now, but I feel like it's almost, well, it's a bit frivolous. I don't know if he has any right trying to hold that, and there it goes. It will get instantly canceled. Ultras lumbering over. In the mix are Roaches, and again, Infestors in tow, and I do believe there are, well, actually, I don't think there's Baneling tactics going on anymore, but not really needed with this one.
Flipping in on this bottom side, going to be a huge fungal growth. The Ultras are doing so much damage on all these Stalkers. The Stalkers just melt, and the Roaches are going to be able to get into really nice position, but I do think Artosis might be able to hold this battle off, but still, losing those Stalkers, that is a lot of money to be losing. You cannot be that cost inefficient with your attacks, and Artosis gonna clean up that entire battle, but still, we can see the reproduction of units. Sheth is again max at 200 out of 200.
Yeah, and he's banking money too. He's at 2,000 minerals, almost 1,000 gas. Artosis is getting a little bit low in minerals. As his bases are drying up just ever so slightly, his natural is now almost nearly completely mined out. His 3rd is not long behind, and his 4th is not even fully saturated, actually, if I take a look. Yeah, it's undersaturated just a little bit. And more Banelings are entering the mix. And I feel like if Sheth keeps that up, the cost effectiveness of the Baneling on this Protoss composition is just going to be too much. Artosis has to get another base in the wood, but even that one's being scouted as we speak. Archons are now being entered in the mix, and I feel like that's a really good choice. It might be too little too late.
Indeed, and we can see Sheth is just remassing Ultra Baneling. Oh my goodness. So this is going to be a very impossible combination to stop for the Protoss player. Can't even use sentries to do anything. A little bit of harass going down here with a drop on Artosis' 4th. Again, still being so meticulous with these tiny little groups of armies. I really love that. And now we're going to see that all those Banelings are going to be, well, a lot of Banelings are going to be put up into Overlords yet again. And meanwhile, there, one single infested Terran is going to be able to do a little bit of damage on that Nexus. But Sheth looks like he's going to be mobilizing. He has a ton of these Overlords filled in with Banelings, and then Infestor, Baneling, and Ultralisk, and going to be denying this 3rd base. Oh my goodness, these Banelings are not going to snap.
And it looks like Artosis will contend for it. It's going to be more.
Banelings are going to come on top
of waterfall of Banelings.
Oh my god! It's going to be losing everything in the back, undermining all of the ranged units, the Colossus, and the Stalkers, but everything's going to be cleared up. Still, Sheth, we see him at 4,000 minerals, and he's going to be remaxing momentarily at 172 right now.
Broodlords are being produced, and that's an excellent switch.
Just tech switches all over the place. That's exactly the most amazing response to this Protoss, this small Protoss army.
Yeah, I mean, the Broodlords are going to have no answer. Artosis is reloading with some Stalkers, and that's great, but when those Broodlords are being defended by any kind of ground army, it looks like that's exactly what Sheth wants to do here. They become pretty untouchable. They have tremendous range, sitting at 9.5, but they also produce units that kind of add, well, actually, as Artosis would say, zoning. They kind of hold you back. They keep you at bay and allow for the big knockout haymaker, if you will, of ground army. So we've been kind of doing this again. We're like, oh, okay, Artosis is dead here. But then he survives. And then he's like, oh, okay, he's dead here. Then he survives. So let's see if he's able to pull yet another rabbit out of his hat. Broodlords are now sieging those cannons.
And these roaches and Banelings are just being beautiful at zoning for these Broodlords, as you said before. And
oh my god, the Banelings!
Oh my gosh.
They just actually rolled their way through all of the Stalkers. So even the Stalkers we just mentioned are now completely gone. And the ground army washing over the Protoss player, and Artosis concedes game number 1. Sheth taking it on Terminus Re in convincing fashion. I mean, he actually, it was a little bit of the Phoenix, if we could quote one of your teammates in style. I'm going to attack and I'm never going to stop. Never going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, the hallmarks of an amazing expert player, Sheth, he was able, even at endgame, he took 4 roaches. He took a couple infested Terrans, and he said, I'm still going to keep harassing you.
His mineral lines,
right? And what that does, you need a lot of APM to be able to control these huge armies. And when you have to meticulously take care of 4 roaches or anything like that, it takes away from that huge, the usage, the control of your huge army, and you really do not want to be doing that. So when Sheth is doing stuff like that, it just shows you how meticulous, how strong of a player
what a high level he's
playing
at.
Yes.
He's a fantastic player, and I hope, I mean, every time Sheth gets mentioned, everyone's pretty quick to be like, yeah, well, he doesn't show up to lands. He showed up to MLG Dallas, took 17th. Sup, haters? You know, he does pretty good.
And he just recently showed up to a Michigan land for I think a $1,400 prize pool, or maybe $1,400 first place. I think it might have been first place.
Yeah.
And he won that extremely convincingly. The guy is such a talent, and Artosis definitely showed he was quite strong.
Okay, I mean, a lot of people. They're going to look at this and they're like, okay, he picked Artosis because he's such a great guy, he's a commentator, he used to be famous, etc. And I have to admit, I was one of those guys. I was like, oh, hey, you know, he's not playing that much.
Artosis, I still love you, man.
Okay, well,
I thought you were great.
Okay,
and I knew you were
going to be great. I love the guy, but okay. Anyways.
I love you, Artosis. Jeff does
thought he was going to get smoked.
Jeff, you just said you did not love Artosis.
I thought he was going to get smoked.
I didn't think so.
In that first game, against an amazing Zerg opponent on a big macro map, he
really showed his own.
Held his own.
Definitely. And, you know, we're going to be going into Game 2 with Artosis versus Sheth, and I think we are going directly into it, so let's go ahead and get there.
All right, so there's the countdown. This is match number 2 in this best of 3. The map is Crossfire SC with FXO Sheth leading 1-0 in NASL group play for division number 1, excuse me. And we're going to go ahead and get started right away. In the top right-hand corner, we do have the purple Zerg, FXO Sheth, morphing in on Crossfire. In the lower left-hand corner, as the blue Protoss, we do have 6 Jacks Artosis. Now, joking aside, we talked about how you thought Artosis was amazing and was going to win the whole thing. I talked about how I thought he was going to get smoked just a little bit. We were both wrong. He held his own, did great. This is, let's not jump to conclusions, a pretty good map for Protoss.
For some Protoss units, yes. The Colossus is a great map, but as we saw last time on the Grubby versus Moon just recently, I mean, Moon definitely showed a great style on how to play this individual map. Again, abusing that natural position. The natural is so vulnerable, so to be abusing that, it's going to be very advantageous for the Zerg player.
Yeah, I mean, one adjustment we do need to see from Artosis is that he took a long time to get his Colossus out, and I've actually seen that in some practice games I've observed with him, is that he loves the gateway units, and that's not bad necessarily, except that if you're not going to be aggressive with those gateway units, then I feel like they lose a lot of their luster. I feel like you want to be building up that Colossus count fairly early so you can threaten the aggression and kind of build up on that tech. But he's of a different school of thought, and you know what? It's early in the game, so it's not necessarily wrong or right. We'll kind of have to see how it pans out. Sheth is opting yet again for the spawning pool first, and I feel like this is safe. I like this response. Right now, he does not know if there's some kind of proxy 2-gate coming his way or zany, Nexus first or anything like that. So when you're playing against a guy you don't really know a whole lot about, I feel like this is the safer play.
I completely agree. I mean, just going to be super safe against any proxies, as you said, but also if a pylon goes or a probe goes and places a pylon in the natural, it also disables him from being able to make an expansion. So we're going to see what Artosis actually does in denying this expansion. I think he's just going to go away with this individual probe. But I mean, Artosis, this guy, I'm really interested to see how he's going to be able to take his expansion. I'm expecting some sort of 3-gate play. That's generally the standard on this map. But I really want to see how he's going to be able to deal with this extremely open.
If you're down 0-1 and you're on a map that's a 1v1 map like this, where you know where your opponent is, it's very rampy, so it favors the sentry.
Yeah.
This might be the cheese map. Artosis has a curious probe on the top left-hand corner. Like to draw attention to it. There should not be any pertinent scouting going on just yet, so perhaps this is the beginnings of some pylon play. But Sheth's on top of it. There it is. It's been spotted.
Hello.
And that means it's never like a good PI. These Zerglings will never actually leave this probe. They're going to be right on its butt all time, like for as long as it's alive. And that's actually not going to be much longer, as Metabolic will kick in here in a moment. So this is just a scouting probe. So if there was any cheese, I can tell you as a Protoss player that that's probably not going to happen. If that probe stays alive, it becomes more likely.
Indeed, and we can see that there is a sentry coming out for Artosis, so that is generally indicative of early, well, not necessarily, but indicative of this early gateway, as you do use, or early 3 gateways, as you do use a lot of gas, so a lot of the different techs are kind of eliminated early on. So I'm expecting some sort of 3-gate. We can see a lot of minerals being saved up. Artosis, prove me right. Boom. Boom.
Did it. Showing some support for you, buddy.
Duh.
Now the sentries get out early like this, they are able to go ahead and generate more mana, which allows them to cast more force fields, more guardian shields, that kind of thing. And it just makes for their value in your fast expansion to be much stronger. If you make stalkers in this place, stalkers remain of the same value throughout the duration of the game. Sentries actually gain value just because they're able to, again, with that mana kind of generating further and further up. So Sheth is kind of aware of the multiple sentries being produced, and that usually indicates an expansion. I really like this, though. Sheth actually has Overlords in position all around the Protoss base. So he's able to see, okay, on the right side behind the destructible rocks, I'll have an Overlord there. Behind the minerals, I have an Overlord there. And there's actually one even making its way on the left side of the map. And that is actually, I know it sounds silly for me to be making such a big deal about that, but you'd be surprised how many Zergs take these little things for granted and don't do that. So ever the teacher that I am, I can't help but to say, please guys, please notice these fantastic players and the little things they do, and do it in your own gameplay.
Indeed, we can see Sheth is just starting this game up very, very soundly. I like most of all the creep tumor that he was placed.
A little
and
bit.
He is getting pretty fast.
Good defensive though.
And evolution chamber is going up, so very interesting. I think maybe that Sheth thought some sort of Stargate tech was coming up.
They're absolutely defensive. We see drones being produced as well. He is still producing a couple of roaches. A bit of an odd timing, in my opinion, because it kind of signifies that you either want to defend or attack, and really neither is necessary right now. And his lings should be telling him that. So I don't know. You know, again, not to question Sheth, he's a fantastic player, but perhaps just playing it super safe. Now, Artosis is going to start walling off this top ramp. We do have a forge going down. Presumably a gateway will be constructed as well. I like that as well.
That a lot.
Good SimCity build like that, just kind of narrowing the space of those ramps. I think there's Zerglings somewhere. Where do I hear these Zerglings? You know what? They were hacking away at that poor pylon. But it does survive. So the Zerg, again, Sheth, actually not really looking to take a third. Is this the timing? Tunneling Claws first?
Yeah, he is going to be getting Tunneling Claws first. Again, it's more of a defensive unit than anything else. But it might be in response to this this Forge and Photon Cannon being all the way put up here. Now, this Photon Cannon might, it's not going to be denied. And the Zerglings are going to be able to get away. But again, the Tunneling Claws, I'm not sure if they're going to be used offensively or defensively. Generally, they're better defensively against mass the mass sentries, because the force fields, they can go underneath them. So I'm not sure if they're going to be used defensively or offensively. I'm going to keep an eye on that, absolutely. We can see this Phoenix, the hallucinated Phoenix, is going to be able to see everything that Sheth is doing. And Sheth, in the meantime, he's just going for... It does look like this timing with the +1. I'm not sure, because this expansion is
well, there goes the drone. So I think he's actually going to take the high yield. Ooh, now that is a different form of aggression we've kind of yet to experience in these series thus far, and I like it. Essentially what this is if Artosis wants to sit on his heels like he has the past couple of games and not really apply pressure. Now, of course, Artosis across the planet is hearing my Protoss thoughts. We are a hive mind. We do feed photosynthetically, so that is possible. Psychic beings. But then again, he's picking up the wrong signal because he's actually heading back home.
Because Zerglings are in the base right now, going to be able to get to the main, pick off some of these probes. One probe is going to go down. Multiple probes are probably going to go down. This is exactly what Sheth needs to do.
Probes
this is such strong play.
No problem, man. They got their little phasers set to kill. But what that did do, and that's such good play by Sheth, you're absolutely right. I mean, just continuously scouting, finding out what the composition looks like. If you can kill a few probes for the cost of those Zerglings, that's all the better.
Yep.
I still like what Artosis is doing. Again, hallucinating, yet another hallucinated Phoenix, just kind of scouting out here. And here we go. Here's that worst feeling for a Protoss. Well, actually, it's not the worst, but it's pretty bad. It's when you find this, and you're like, oh, he's taking the high yield. Well, I got to attack.
Yeah,
I got to attack, or I got to expand. And on this map, I think attack is the choice. And that might have been what Sheth was building up for, actually, is that moment.
Indeed. I mean, Artosis is definitely gearing up for a certain time attack, or at least he has to be gearing up for something. A robotics bay is going down for him, and we are going to be seeing Colossus coming out pretty soon for Artosis. Meanwhile, Sheth is trying to gear up into position with these roaches, and I like this position. Again, you need to stay mobile. You need to stay current with wherever your opponent is.
Yeah.
So having those roaches there are going to be really nice defensively in case there's an attack in either of these positions, the natural or the main.
Yeah, he's just going to go clear the right side. It looks like he's going to expand there. At the same time as going Colossus, he does have one being produced. Pretty standard timings, but there has to be a certain degree of urgency, I feel, because he has seen the Zerg take that high yield. And Sheth, again, such a fantastic player, is almost instantly saturated. He is sitting at 69 Harvesters versus now 70. Versus the 59 of the Protoss player. Big fight going on in the middle of the map. Excuse me, hold that thought. These roaches have tunneling claws, though. Artosis might have bit off more than he could chew. Losing sentries, and these force fields are losing their effectiveness as the roaches just simply skirt around it.
Wow, able to actually come out on top of that fight. Sheth playing just so beautifully, able to take out so many of those sentries. Only one sentry left.
And
he
looks like
really
this last
needs
one
to
might get
put
picked off.
down.
Well, there it goes.
Wow, that is a huge, huge pickoff. And now the Colossus is going to come here. That is not the position you want,
He's
though.
gonna
You lost
cancel the third.
every single one of your sentries.
And this is brutal. I mean, as a Protoss player, you have to, like, even if it's almost an even trade in that fight, it's a loss for the Protoss. But to lose that fight,
Yeah.
as handily as he did, is devastating. He also had his third canceled, losing all the sentries and all their force fields. Artosis, very red-faced right now. I guarantee you there's a mean-spirited thought process coursing through his mind. He is the nicest guy on the whole planet, but right now he's angry.
Yeah, he was not expecting that whatsoever. Sheth playing extremely bold. And now that he has the gold expansion, I mean, he is going to be producing a stupid amount of units off of this.
And even the Colossus
go to the income
pooped
tab.
on.
Wow. Just about 50% higher for his income, so that's quite substantial.
Yeah, he's sitting at a deficit in harvesters, but really the important, like, tail of the tape, if you will, is that he's down a base, and that base happens to be a high yield, which is actually extra bad. It's okay to be down a base if it's normal, for the most part, as long as you're closing in on equalizing with that, or at least applying pressure that way. But the high yield is tough. Now, banelings are being produced, and again,
Ventral Sack's
actually,
being
these
upgraded,
overlords
man.
do not. Yeah, okay, now it's about to complete, so they will be loaded up into those overlords. Beautiful play by Sheth. That's really hard to handle as a Protoss. You need to have blink. You got to have the force field and the ability to keep the ground army at bay while you kind of manage those dropped banelings. But I feel like Artosis, because of the economical woes of the early portion of the game, just cannot keep up.
Yeah, we're going to see Artosis actually pushing out here. He does look like he wants to start attacking. There's a lot of Stalkers and 2 Colossus to his name, but I mean the banelings are extremely strong, and we can see that the Roaches are moving into position a little bit here. Now going to be moving completely. There are no force fields en route, and now the Overlords are closing in, so he needs to know. Oh no, banelings are going to be able to drop all over these units.
Oh, the Colossus die almost for free, and it really doesn't matter. Artosis microing to the best of his ability, but the Roaches are going tit for tat. They are dropping shots off on these Stalkers. It's not one-way damage.
Oh, no.
Banelings looking to add to the mix, and Artosis has tucked tail and ran. No third expansion has been set up, and oh my gosh, devastating amounts of damage from those Banelings. And it looks like this last one's trying to connect. Nope, doesn't get there. But, I mean, really, Artosis has no sentries, no third, and I don't even know if he can hold off this attack.
No, and now the Roaches are going to be moving up into position. The Stalkers are finally going to be smashed upon, and oh my gosh, burrowed his individual Roaches, no observers in sight, and now trying to warp in more units, but there are so many Roaches. I think he's going to be able to hold off this fight, but at the cost of most of all of his units. Oh my gosh, maybe not.
Roaches are pretty good, man, especially if they burrow, because there's no vision. There's the GG.
GG.
And Sheth had that.
Nick shall be freed. Thank you.
Okay, so we're actually going to go right into an interview with our winner, FXO Sheth, taking down 6 Jacks Artosis 2-0. Let's get some of his thoughts.
Hello, Mr. Sheth. How are you doing today? You just had an impressive win over Artosis, a 2-0 lead onto him. How do you feel right now?
Well, I'm really happy. You know, I managed to win. I was actually very worried about Artosis. He's kind of like that guy I haven't seen play. I know he's like so intelligent about the game.
Yeah.
And I know in Brood War's mechanics and just everything was amazing. So I expect a very, very good transition. And I expected like him to just come out with some crazy builds and just roll over me. But either way, I managed to take those games, so I'm very happy.
Indeed, and we did see a little bit of trouble in Game 1. Talk me through how you were feeling after you lost that first huge battle. I thought he was quite far ahead, and then you lost all of your Overlords. I mean, what were you thinking? What went through your mind when that happened?
Well, I was wishing I'd made more spine crawlers. It's just bad micro by me. I blew some baneling bombs, and just I didn't have any infestors with that combination either. So I was a bit worried. Like, you should have seen me panicking. Like, I'm worried, and then I noticed one of my dropships was still killing probes, and then I realized he went back to kill that. So I was like, whew, glad I had that one dropship there. It saved my game.
Definitely. And then you were able to take out that game, and then Game 2, I mean, you had a really nice roach timing when you engaged with this force, and actually killed a lot of sentries I mean, did you have that plan that you were going to be engaging at that time? That it felt like a very, very interesting time to be attacking.
It wasn't anything planned at all. I got the gold though, so I knew I could macro up like crazy from that point, and I saw he was positioned kind of weirdly. Like if you're a Protoss and you're kind of just sitting in the middle of the map, it's a really risky place to be because force fields aren't going to be good. There aren't really any cannons up. Like honestly, I guess I could have just walked them underground until I was right under his army and then popped up. As I don't think he had any cannons there, so I figured it would be a good place to attack, and I did have a lot of roaches because I was kind of expecting some sort of 6-gate. I was actually expecting from the late Nexus DTs, like I had a Spore Crawler all ready and waiting, and then just I managed to transition into that, so it was good.
Well, Sheth, you looked amazing today, taking your first win in the North American Star League. I want to wish you a huge congratulations and a good luck with the rest of the league.
Thank you very much, man.
Well,
it's been an honor.
Catch you soon, all right?
All right.